Hey everyone, happy Juneteenth weekend. So, we just wanted to come on really quick to give some brief history on Juneteenth, bring up some points about Juneteenth because we're jumping on the wave. We know that Juneteenth was just made a federal holiday. Woo woo! So we just want to have a conversation about Juneteenth. If you have any questions, you can put them in the comment box. We could try to answer them, and then we want to talk about an event that we're having tomorrow with our family business. So joining me, I have the amazing Jackie Jones and Gwen Knowles, who are my mom and my aunt. They taught me everything I know about Black history. I couldn't think of two other people to come on and just talk about Juneteenth. So welcome, mommy and auntie.
Hi,
Hello.
thank you. Hello,
Hi.
everyone.
All right, all right. So this is really just about, talking about Juneteenth. So if I didn't know anything about Juneteenth, what are some history you'd give me, or what are some things that you would tell me about Juneteenth?
Sure.
Oh,
We can
yeah,
go.
you can go right ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So Juneteenth represents the beginning of independence for Black Americans in this country because at the time of the Emancipation Proclamation, when Abraham Lincoln had that issued on January 1st, 1863, it took 2.5 years for that knowledge, that information, that liberty to reach slaves in Texas. So in Galveston, Texas, in 1865, General George Granger, who was a Union general in the Army, he came, he just gave a simple proclamation, a little bit more than y'all are free. And they didn't get, all the full context. They didn't have everything, but they knew what freedom meant. So that represents that at the time in 1776, July 4th, when our country was celebrating its independence, it had a majority of the African Americans enslaved in their country. So at the time they were celebrating their independence from Britain, they were slave holding. So that irony really, is not lost on us. So people look at Juneteenth as our true Independence Day because that is when all enslaved people were represented as being free. So it is a holiday to celebrate. There, in many communities, they have fireworks with the same kind of fervor that July 4th offers. And that is just something that we wanted to celebrate, especially growing up with our mom from Texas who grew up celebrating Juneteenth.
So let's talk about that celebration. Like, what did that celebration look like when you all were growing up?
Well, it's when my mom was growing up. By the
Your mom was
time
growing up.
yeah, interesting because by the time we were actually grown up, so the Black people from Texas of our generation, my mom said they actually kind of put the kibosh on Juneteenth. They didn't connect with it historically. Because at the time my mom grew up, white employers gave their Black employees off for Juneteenth, and the city provided watermelon and red drink. So the young people who were my age, our generation coming up, Black Power in the 70s, they were like, oh, we ain't celebrating that holiday. They attributed more than, it was almost like not condescending, like patronizing. They considered it was a patronizing, tokenistic kind of opportunity. So they didn't have the full understanding. So my mother is one, she said, your generation is the one that sort of stopped the celebration. And then here we are, late 90s is when it kind of began again to this fervor. But just tell some things that mommy remembers about
Well,
it.
just a resurgence with it, in that it was just something that people looked forward to, and that was just celebrated throughout. It was really like a village or community celebration. And I must admit that she was very shocked when she came up here that it wasn't something that was celebrated, because she just thought, because of the historical meaning of the holiday, that it was definitely something that was celebrated beyond the Texas borders. And she was shocked that many of her friends up here did not even know anything about Juneteenth.
Yeah, I mean, I think even up here in Boston, mommy, we were talking about that. People were like, "Oh, what does Juneteenth mean?" And so I was like, "Oh, it's just like a family reunion or like people getting back together." The big one that happens in Franklin Park, and it's like, wait, no, it's not. Like
Mm-mm.
it's absolutely not. So I think, and before we went live, I know we were talking about like the commercialization of it that's going to happen now. But I think that we have an opportunity to really let people know its roots and how we can connect, to that. And like the importance of connecting to that. So it's a federal holiday and people get it off. Awesome, amazing. But what are some things that people can do to celebrate Juneteenth?
Well, definitely, I think some community service activities. That was one thing about the Martin Luther King holiday, that people didn't want it to be a day off; they wanted to be a day on. And I feel that the same thing could happen with Juneteenth as well, and also a bridging and connecting of our generations. There's definitely a generation gap between our elders and our younger generation. So any type of activity that will be able to bridge that gap. So whether it's being able to talk to someone like Nana, who grew up celebrating Juneteenth and also grew up in Jim Crow South. Anything that'll be able to bridge that, because I just think that that's something that's bad that's happening right now in the village. In Juneteenth, any of these type of celebrations, that and we don't have to have it become commercialized. We'll make an intentional effort. So it's like, no, we're not going to let you go down that rabbit hole with this holiday. Also because of the sacredness of it. I mean, you bamboozle and fooled people into working for you for 2 additional years for free, because there might have been some stuff, whether it was a train you wanted built, or there might have been some things that you wanted to be able to happen, and you needed this free labor to be able to do it. So it's a celebration of the liberation and of the freedom, but at the core of it, people were bamboozled and used and exploited, continued exploitation of people. So it's a reason to celebrate, but then again, it's a reason not to allow it to be exploited continuing.
Yes. And I think Gwen makes a good point in terms of those people were able to be exploited because they didn't know. So as an educator, I look at Juneteenth as an opportunity to really focus around some type of education. So for instance, we are offering, again, our Black History classes. We announced them during Juneteenth last year. We are doing our free Black History classes, and it is expanded to, again, the founding of Harambe Learning and Cultural Center, so that we can make a presence in Brockton to preserve our history, to really honor our ancestors through learning various poems, learning about instruments, having that kind of culture going forward. So I look at Juneteenth as a reminder that you have to be educated. If you are not educated, only 2 things happen with power. Power is a neutral term. Power is used by you or it's used against you. Every single day. So you all of a sudden, why'd you go out and buy those sneakers? You weren't going to buy it. That's the power of advertising. Why did you eat those chips? You didn't even know what they were. The power of marketing. See what I mean? Mm-hmm. Power is used by you. So or against you every day. I'd rather have my power being used by me. So Juneteenth is a reminder. Yes, those people didn't know. There was no internet. There was no way for them to know. But the damage that can be done if you don't have an education. No Black person should drop out of school, period. That's how you honor Juneteenth. And if you're not in school, go back. And we're going to give some little information tomorrow that'll help people have some information about going back. So I look at Juneteenth as an opportunity to honor those people that didn't know by making sure you stay in the know. Go to community meetings, get involved civically. There are things as a citizen that you can do to educate yourself about your community. Do those kind of things. Show up at a school committee meeting. You have children there. Show up at a city council. It's your block or your street. They're getting ready to put something on there you may not want. So getting involved civically and really respecting education, those are really 2 things that can be done concrete to honor Juneteenth.
Absolutely. And I mean, you bring up a good point about the education. And I think that one of the biggest issues now is like we're depending on our school system to educate our children, although it wasn't like that before. I mean, I think I came up in one of the homes that was kind of an anomaly for my time. But like in both of your time, you know, like when you were growing up, that Black history was there. It was where? In the church, it was in your home.
Yeah.
But you know, when I was growing up, it wasn't really there. So can either one of you just speak to the importance of us being the number one educators in our home?
Well, I feel that again, you don't know what you don't know, but history, and you've seen different memes along that it'll have a way of repeating itself if you are not educated about it. I remember being in high school myself when there was someone, a senator that was looking to try and take back or whatever with the 14th Amendment, the one that gave slaves, you know. So all those little type of things, even just knowing enough that if someone brings up some conversation that seems off, janky, or just all out of the way, that you can be like, hey, wait a minute. You know, someone talks about, hey, ratifying or getting rid of the 13th Amendment, 14th Amendment. You can say, wait a minute, no, that's going to affect me. Like, no. So it's like we just have to be educated on more than foolishness at times.
Yeah.
We do. There's stuff that can entertain us, and then there's stuff that can educate us. Like, we have to know the difference. Watching something on, you know, people being silly is not educating you. That's entertaining you, and there's a difference. Like, you're not going to follow the entertainment, you need to follow the education.
Absolutely. And I think that by that analogy, we need to, how I could basically say, be more Jewish. And I'm meaning total respect for our Jewish brothers and sisters, because if you were to find a little 4-year-old Jewish child, ask him or her, who is Golda Meir? Guarantee the mother of Israel. So to your point, Stephanie, we have to continue educating our children so that just like the Jews have a 2-word phrase, never again. Right? That is the sort of like a phrase that Jewish people use to remind their young that they will never go back and be victims of a Holocaust again, or that attempted genocide, right? So I think that we have to make sure that not relying on the schools, and the churches have unfortunately fallen down a bit. Okay. We had Black History teas. We grew up for the most part in Messiah Baptist Church. It's not by accident Messiah sits in the center of town, because it was the center of the Black community. So I value the experiences that we had growing up there. Lainey Stewart, my mom, people that Miss Lillian Harris. Oh, we were going to get that Black history.
Right.
Reverend Jones, we were going to learn these poems. We had to know Langston Hughes, Phyllis Wheatley. I mean, those names just kind of rolled off, and the expectation was, why not? I mean, it wasn't even, we didn't even think, wow, we got to be in this class. It was so just, we felt honored because they were so excited about it. You see what I'm saying?
Well, Black excellence was on full display.
Oh my gosh.
And now it is not. There is a generation that is missing out on Black excellence, and it is up to us to have to teach it. And you know, now we got to do some rigging and rowing and some tossing and turning before we get to teach them, because they don't know. It's not going to be as easy as it was with us, and we know that. So you gotta get in where you fit in the sense of just like anti-racism is hard work and it's daily work.
It must be intentional.
Teaching our kids what they don't know is gonna be hard work. It's got to be intentional, and it's got to be daily work. We got to let them know why. Because again, Black excellence was on full display growing up. And again, there was just that expectation that people just knew you were going to be doing this because this is what was expected of you. Our expectation, I feel, of ourselves is not as high as it used to be, and it has to get back. We got to be the ones that do it. I am at a point that I don't feel that we should continue to be looking to the Caucasian race for direction. We can find out, or for leadership. And I'm not talking about kicking out white allies and stuff. That's great. They are needed. But we know what's going to work best in our own home, and this our home being our community. I don't need the mayor to come in my home where I live at to tell me what to do in my home. I know how to run my home. I don't need him to come in the community and say, do X, Y, and Z, because we know what we need in our community.
And
Absolutely.
I think that's so succinctly put it.
And what works. And that's the thing. I think we've allowed other communities to dictate what we're supposed to be doing in our own community. So then it's like, okay, now I don't know what to do. But that's why, organizations like Harambe Learning and Cultural Center is around. We are reinstilling, reteaching Black history to all age groups. It's not just a young child thing, because there are adults who do not know. And that's no shade, that's no shame, because it's never too late. As long as we're able to take a breath in, we're still here and able to learn, like, okay, there's some history that I didn't know, and then as you teach it, there's more stuff that you learn. It's our history. And I think we've allowed people to dictate how we learn our history or how we don't learn our history. So it's like, this is a perfect springboard. Like, Juneteenth gives us that opportunity to reintroduce people into our history. Because as we say, Black history is American history. There's no separation between the two. It's all woven in and integrated.
Absolutely.
And there are a lot of young, brothers like John Williams, Nubi Rato, Tim Young, Greg Fernandez, Kenny Montero, Rui. There are a lot of young brothers that are woke and that are trying to move the Mario Lamar, Lloyd Lamar, moving the community forward.
Sure.
And I salute them for that, for taking a stand and trying to really build and make our community better.
And looking at Black excellence as a goal.
Right. And looking
putting
at
that on display, because there's so many things on display. And I always, and I do know, I feel that, if there's like a range of sort of liberal, conservative, I tend to be kind of hardline. I do, like, I still cannot understand people standing in blocks wrapping around for sneakers, right? So when I was in Atlanta, several mothers, I just remember a mother, Black young woman, she was arrested because she left her 2-year-old daughter in the car so that she could be in line for the sneakers. And she was keeping her head down, and, she didn't want to talk to the camera, that kind of thing. So I feel like, ask ourselves the question, where would we be as a community of power and wealth if instead of buying Nike sneakers, we invested and bought stock in Nike, right? So that $300, that's for a sneaker, right? And that might be on the low end, right? Sneaker, $325. What if you use that to buy a share of Nike? Look at how your wealth will grow. And we tend to, there's something called the Black Card. And one of those rappers, I don't know his name. I don't know many of their names. They're all the same name to me, something little. Our generation was, Biggie, Big Pun. Now this generation, Little Wayne, little someone, right? The diminishing.
All right.
Anyway. So, but I think that someone said they celebrated, I got a Black Card. And this brother, he said, do you know what that means? Hill Hopper. He just said a really good thing. He said, you know what that means? You have a Black Card. It means you can give American Express an unlimited amount of money. Okay? That's what it means. So it wasn't something to celebrate. So when I try to explain that to my students, many of them who didn't know at the time, the head of American Express was a Black man, Kenneth Chenault. They didn't know that. I said, so would you rather have a Black card for American Express or be the CEO of American Express? And they kind of got it when you make those things, when you put those pictures sort of together, right? When you put those analogies together, it makes me think that we have a long way to go. Somewhere along the line, our village broke down. When your aunt and I grew up, people in our generation, there was a code. That kept our community safe. Aside from the police, right? These aren't even the police involved. Even the worst gangster knew 3 things. You do not touch children, women, or old people.
Right.
That was just known. I mean, and you'd have some that would the ski mask type of robbers. You'd have them that would rob delivery boys. But even that type, there was a code of conduct that even the worst gangster, the worst thug observe. That's what kept our community safe. We have lost the code. When I listen to songs that are out, when I see the things that people celebrate, I'm not on Facebook, but when I hear about the things that people brag about, put up on Facebook that they have done or that they know someone that's done, it is sad, but it gives me fuel though, because to Cookie's point, or my sister's point, it's not going to be easy, but it's so worthwhile. It is so worthwhile. It is so worthwhile. And I do believe in sharing the knowledge, not hoarding the knowledge, because it was not hoarded from us. We were freely shared between our parents, then our extended family, our church family. It became, and I really want to give a shout out to Willie Wilson, because as we are helping to now, so first phase 1, Harambe announced last year, Juneteenth, our Black History classes. So we're announcing this phase that we are developing a Black History Trail in Brockton. So it'll be very similar, significant things that have happened in Black community life in Brockton. And Willie has been instrumental in giving dates and facts and figures. So more to come, because it'll be, like a little scavenger hunt. Okay. It'll be, so more is coming, but just know that we look at Harambe having a place in this community to be very similar to the way that Elma Lewis really was sort of the cultural capital, if you will, of Black Roxbury. We would like Harambe to be almost like the cultural capital of the Southeast of Massachusetts. And we're so glad that Greg, with his conservatory, has agreed for us to have some kind of collaboration. So more to come, but we are excited about that opportunity. We're excited about the Black excellence that raised us. It is not dead. We cannot, as long as I have breath, right? As long as I can see my way to if I can't stand, I can sit. And I want to share knowledge so that our community can grow under the ways that we know that makes it strong and healthy. Right now, it's different between eating healthy food or eating food that's unhealthy. You gain fat, you get fat, but you're not healthy.
No nutrients.
We have a lot that people are taking in, but it's not healthy stuff, right? So health and strength and unity, that's our goal. And I believe that this is a major step, that we had the Juneteenth, and now we are ready and looking at this occasion too. And I do want to thank Amy Winston, our community colleague, because she came. It was really a meeting of the minds. I knew I wanted to do something with Juneteenth. Right. Amy called and said she wanted to do something with Juneteenth. So we kind of made that effort together, and we're looking at what did Brockton need. So we're having a City Hall Plaza. I don't know that will be always. It might be more that it does develop into sort of a picnic, a celebration, right? We have the little ceremony. So just
that's the goal.
Things that work, but the main thing is something will always be happening Juneteenth in Brockton. For the people that want to go to Boston, deal with that traffic. Go ahead, enjoy yourself. But there is something in your home community as well.
It is. And, charity begins at home and then it spreads abroad. This is where we have a 52-year history in the city of Brockton. And the problems that exist that we talk about in regards to, some of the things that are hurting our community. If you go from the tip of Maine to the bottom of California, all the same.
Same problems.
Why is that?
But I live in Brockton, and hopefully anything that I can do here can catch a fire so that it can make a difference in Maine and possibly California as well. Because when you look at it in the big grand scheme, it's overwhelming. And then you feel like, oh, what's the sense? And you throw your hands up. But I can work. I can do what I can do here in the community that I'm living in, that I need to be able to feel safe in, which I do. These are the streets I grew up on. I'm not foolish. I'm not huffing out here at 1 o'clock in the morning, but I can't allow kids who look like me to be disrespectful, but also that I don't feel safe around somebody that could be my child, my grandchild, my nephew, my niece. Like, so whatever I can do to try and make a difference, like I'm there. I am there for it. I have to be. I feel like it's my responsibility again, that Black excellence that I grew up with. It makes it so that it's welled up in you that you have to you have to do.
That you have to do. I mean, you both bring up such amazing points, and I'm like, I've heard it all my life. I'm like, everyone needs to hear this. You know what I mean? Because it's I like compare it to voting. You can't complain about things that are going on if you're not voting. You don't have the right, right?
Amen.
So as community members in the Black community, it's hard for us to say, "Ooh, this generation is terrible," but we're not doing our part to make it work. So we can say, "Oh my gosh, oh, man, they're celebrating this, they're watching Love and Hip Hop, and they're doing this, and the pants are sagging, and they're more concerned with Jordans over, their Black history, which are their ancestors as well." But what do? We don't just sit at home and complain like, oh man. No, we take the next steps to do what we need to do to pour this history, because a lot of people who have the history inside them are passing away and they have not poured it out. So what does that mean? That means pieces of history are dying. Because a lot of stuff wasn't photographed at times. A lot of stuff wasn't written down. We don't know all the stuff that happened. We know the big things that happened, but we have to dig. And I feel like that's what Harambe does. We dig. We're like archaeologists. Like, we dig for the little known facts, but we also talk about the big known Black history facts as well. But it's like, it's so important for us to pour this history out. And like I said before, Juneteenth gives us that springboard. It gives us that like launch to say, this is the important part of our history. We're not going to commercialize it. We're not going to sit here and have a Juneteenth, discount sale. Like, we know that's what the stores want to do.
Like the Martin Luther King car sales. It's
Come
like,
on.
really?
Yeah.
Ridiculous. Martin didn't die for this. Martin didn't die for this.
Buy a T-shirt, buy it from a Black vendor.
That's
right?
key.
I'm just saying, and this is not being any shade, but I feel that Black people, we sometimes are made to feel uncomfortable when we just want to say something about our race. But if other races wanted to have an event and only speak in their first native language and not and no one understood except for them, it would be okay. So I'm just saying that we have to be okay with Afro-American history is intertwined with American history. We were here first and helped to build it, okay? Unfortunately, with our Native American brothers and sisters who did not come over on the boat, they were here to welcome the boat. They were so broken through their spirits. They were so broken in their communities. Black community resisted in ways that maybe I think that, I'm just saying, I'm not in this part of the history. This is probably where Amina Pilgrim could help out. I think that with the Native Americans, I think they were just so overwhelmed by their kindness being taken advantage of that I think they just lost this spirit. And I think the Black people coming as enslaved persons, but coming from warriors, coming from like what? So people say, well, you have the myth of the happy slave. No, what's more true is that there were many slaves that resisted, even if the resistance didn't seem outright. Okay. Right. So how many bales of cotton were stuffed with something else underneath? Okay. We don't know. Right. How many families swallowed ground glass in their meal? We don't know. Okay. So I'm just saying that we have to, just the same way that we resisted slavery, it took 400 years, right? It took, well, actually 200, because it came 1619, and then by 1865, right? So a little over 200 years of formalized slavery, but we know that the oppression, repression, all
Jim
that
Crow and all that.
Still, oh yeah, Jim Crow, as Stacey Abrams called Jim Crow 2.0, right?
Absolutely.
We cannot allow this. So every time there's a chance for an opportunity, so how would we say something? People that are old, teach. People that are young, keep your heart, minds open to learn, but also to share. Yes. There may be things like someone listening may say, oh, that lady was just ragging on all the rappers. She don't know about so-and-so who's a very conscious rapper. No, I don't. Teach me if that's what I need to know about, right? So, but I think we have to remain committed, vigilant. It has to be seen as what's called community work, capacity building.
Sure.
Capacity building means we will not stop until every person has reached his or her full capacity. What's the purpose? I don't believe your purpose was to run around here in these streets, get shot up or shoot up, and then you end up in jail. I will not believe that's the purpose. I won't. I will not believe that. But guess what? If you don't know your purpose and you don't define and claim it, then someone else will. Again, remember, power If you don't take your power, self-development, self-education, then someone else's power, buy this, do that, sell this, live here, don't go here, that'll be used against you. So we're looking to make a difference.
And this is where we as an older generation do come in for the learning and for the teaching. Oh, Brown, it's broken.
I'm sorry, there's just a question.
I know.
That was ground
broken, not brown glass, broken glass.
I think you said ground, so it did sound like
ground. It was like ground glass, broken glass.
Some people, I mean, if you remember, the slaves were caring for these families,
cooking everything.
They served these meals. Most times, you know, you see they made it. All right, you see some Caucasians are still here, so some made it, right?
A lot,
but some were not that happy. So-called slave Beulah, Bessie, she was in there not just grinding pepper, right? She was grinding glass. So over a period of time, but they did it in a way that it would look like the people had some, because they just couldn't put a, you know what I mean? It had to be in a way that, because, you know, Bessie gonna be the first suspect of all the whole family fall out dead the next day, right? So they would have it in a way that people would get ill, stomach thing, because this is essentially they're being shredded from the inside. Okay, so those are some ways, real stories, real things that happened.
But
you know, I'm sorry, Auntie. I was about to say, I do want to say we need the importance of maybe doing lives like this. You know, we could pick a topic and just talk about certain things. If anyone has a question in the comments, you know, you have a question about some Black history, we can share it and talk about it. But go ahead, Auntie.
But I was just surmising, and again, this is only my take on it. Nothing I've discussed with anyone or no one has told me. And I realized that it's my generation. I was thinking it was a generation maybe before me. That our elders are mad at young people. Again, people died to vote. People died for less than nothing. Emmett Till killed. So to have saggy pants, very foul language around anybody that's around, not caring if it's somebody's grandmama, mama, all the disrespectful behavior. And what do we do when we're mad at people? We don't talk to them. So we are not talking to our young people. So on this end, we are mad, very disrespectful to the race. And then they're growing up having no one to make them know or guide them. So they're going up wayward.
Sure.
Listening to the wrong person, listening to this one, that one, or the other thing.
Making up as they go along.
Again, or listen to people their own age who have no life experience and wisdom on their side. So I always thought I was kind of in the middle. I'm like, oh, it's a generation before.
No.
But it is my generation as well. We are so what can we expect? Like, we can't be mad at what we're getting because we did nothing to help guide this.
THUG.
Now, I know at the same time, after Martin Luther King was killed and Fred Hampton and the Panthers were like eradicated, annihilated, you know, people ran into hiding. They were scared. So nobody was coming out and talking and saying boo. And I get that, but we say what young people have to do better, but we have to do better as well.
Amen.
Approach, engage. Don't cross the street when you see them. Don't give in to that fear when you're locking your door, because we are being no better than those who are resting their knees on their neck.
That's deep.
If nothing else, who knows, this might be a beginning of what's called community conversations. Other communities have done it. It is a challenge because it brings together two people that, for all intents and purposes, seem like polar opposites. But to Gwen's point, I will never be the opposite of someone that looks like me. We have something in common. There's somewhere for us to start that conversation from. right? So it might be that, see, this would have been a good place where churches could open their basements, open, the building fund's done, right? I imagine, right? They need to open up.
The building fund isn't done. It's
Right.
still
Well,
running.
they might get some new people to add to it then. Bring
So
them
you're not,
in.
so
Maybe
you're not
they'll
bleeding
add
the
to
old
it.
members. Don't bleed the old members, right? We need some new people to come in.
Well, I'm just saying, there's a lot of churches that have a lot of room, right? We could have those conversations. It could be, like to Gwen's point. I do say I thank God for us having a spiritual base, because again, during the time that we grew up, everyone had someone, even again, gangster. His grandmother went to church,
Right.
or his aunt. We have now whole generations of Black families, 4 generations, grandmother, mother, the child, and the child's child. None of them go to church.
No.
Didn't go to church.
And there is something that happened to us. Now, for people to say, well, you just need to be Christian. Listen, no spiritual. Okay, so even if you are Muslim, you had something.
Yeah.
Right? There was some higher power. There was something that you answered to for your behavior. We have whole families. That's not it. They practice nothing. Sunday is the day for football and car washing. Right now, my mom will say that she noticed a change in our community. She said, as Black people got the more affluent jobs, yes, the 70s opened up a lot of opportunity, kind of like now, how they're basically, everybody wants something with diversity. We needed this, we needed that, right? Black people were just getting jobs. They were just walking. Are you Black? Can you read and write? Come here. Come here, right? So when the 70s got the job, my mom said, people did now have income that they didn't have before, so they could buy cars that maybe they had just seen in the showroom, right? They now could buy. She said, but my mother, I'm speaking her words. She said, when I knew something had happened was when I would see, she's on her way to church, she see Black people in their driveways washing cars. Mm-hmm. She said that was just something. That's something you just didn't see.
Right.
You didn't see. How are you getting ready to be late for church? Or if you were not even going to church, you wouldn't be sort of disrespectful of Sunday, of being there washing your car in the driveway. So I'm just saying, we have to look at what did we chase and what did we gain? Did what we chase add to us as a community, or did it take away? And if we agree that it took away something, then that's the point where we can start this conversation from. Yeah. What can we bring back?
Absolutely.
And I mean, internet and technology changes, because you can have a child, quote unquote, safely at home, but they're upstairs watching people fighting, for pleasure.
Oh yeah,
on
parents,
right?
Yeah, that's a whole nother.
Yeah,
that's a whole nother show.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We're seeing.
Yes, Ayana, I hear you. It took away.
It took away.
Yeah.
And Ayana is my age. You know what I mean? So it really did leave. You know what I mean? I think in my generation, we had mostly everybody was going to church, or if you weren't, then you knew someone. But these younger generations, I mean, whole people just had no idea what church was, church culture, or even respecting Sunday. And Mommy, you said something very important, like what did we gain, or about taking away. And then I started thinking, like, who told us to chase what we chased? We have to look at the source. Who told us to chase what we were chasing, and what was their purpose of telling us that? Because we allowed, or not even so much allowed, there were just a lot of things that happened that destroyed our community.
Yes.
So we know that crack was pumped into our community. There's no dispute.
That's a direct indication of when our whole community, because even sometimes when Black males were being attacked, even in the 60s and stuff, Black women was always holding it down.
Always.
Black took the men, women, and children out all at once.
Yep.
There was stuff going on that I was like, Black people are doing that? Selling baby formulas, selling food stamps. And it's like
selling their children.
Yes. Yeah, their children as well. And that's just like, and again, it was intentional. And I sometimes feel that we as a people never have the ability to be able to define ourselves, because we came over here. Someone said, you're Negro, you're colored, you're this. And then in the 60s, we're like, well, no, we're Black. We're calling ourselves Black. And then someone said, well, we're African American. So it's like some have, and then
it's like people of color. And it's like,
Charlize Theron, the actress, she's from South Africa. So is she African American? Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, And then that created division within other Cape Verdean, Haitian, because it's like, well, we're Black. And Black encompassed us all. I think African American divided us. But
Sure.
we never had the opportunity. We always had someone else saying who you are. You're colored. You're Negro. You're this. And it's like, again, FUBU. Get back to FUBU. For us, by us. We can
Kuji Chagalia.
self-determination. Then we have the one where we just define ourselves. You know, I mean, we need to, we can't just, again, Kwanzaa commercialize this stuff, like really live it, really practice it, really try and be what it is.
Because that's what the founder wanted us to do. So even though it's, you know, and shout out, we're having another Kwanzaa in December.
Yeah, yeah.
Actually, January 1st. But, you know, so we have these Kwanzaa principles, and we can even teach on that. Like, this is about education, and not like, oh, we're above you because we know more. We know something, so we want to share it. That's what we're getting back to. They're the 7 principles in the Guzu Saba. They're not just supposed to be practiced in that week. Those are year-long, lifelong principles.
Absolutely.
Unity, self-determination, collective works and responsibility. Like, you know
Black
what I mean?
businesses. Yeah.
Black businesses. That is our lifestyle, you know, and we support every other community but our own. If we want to see change, we have to let our dollars circulate back, but not just our dollar, we have to let our education keep circling around in our community.
Yes.
Because we've allowed so many other people to educate us and tell us, like you're saying, Auntie, like, you're this, you're label. No, we put our labels on ourselves. We define ourselves. We make ourselves who we are. And we have to help the younger generation do that. I mean, people are saying the same exact thing in the comments. I know you guys are seeing it, like, amen. And yes, so I think there's such a need, and I believe in we believe in striking while the iron is hot. There's a need, there's a hunger and a thirst. You know, the Bible says, my people perish because of lack of knowledge.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're done with our children perishing because they don't know their history.
But we have to leverage it, Stephanie. Like, we have to know what we're doing in the sense of, because I think, like, you know, we're distracted by pancake boxes and Uncle Ben.
Juneteenth.
When reparations was what's, you know, and it's like, I feel like we are in a great position. We're like the Patriots. We're in that end zone. That ball is coming to us. You gonna fumble it, or you gonna be able to catch it. And I think we're getting like all lost out, not unfocused on other stuff, and not realizing we are in a great position here, folks. And I also feel that other people are looking at us like, oh, let's see what they gonna do.
Right? Are they gonna mess
it up like they did?
Come on.
In the 70s.
Exactly.
You know? So it's like we were in a good hot position in the 60s, and then they started killing everybody. And then that made you, you know, kind of retreat.
And we had to retreat from killing ourselves. That's been, you know, real. That's why I think we talked before about, like, so Steffi, as you know, for the young ladies in our family, we do a rites of passage. I think we did talk about maybe looking at a community practice.
We're going to do that.
So more to come. We might one way, and we work with brothers like John and Greg and his group to do a rites of passage for the males. And we will continue with the rites of passage for the females. That's what we're missing. What do the Jews have? Bar mitzvah and bat mitzvah, right?
It's for history.
What is it designed for? To teach the culture going forward and to remember the history backwards.
Come on.
Right? So I think that just know that that is a possibility, and we'd welcome anyone. Let's look at that being happen. We have enough spaces. There are spaces in Brockton that are just not being used, or places that are open to new use. I think there's like a cultural center, things where we could look at maybe having some kind of cultural rites of passage for our young people to re-ground them. Well, actually, means go back. Some of it is going to be ground for the first time. What you are now is not a reflection of who you were meant to be.
That's right.
All right. And I think we do owe it to them, because we're looking at ourselves becoming that generation who was above us, right? We're looking at ourselves, we're becoming the age almost of the church mothers, right? How did that happen?
You are, but you're beautiful. Listen, y'all wouldn't believe how old they are. They look so good.
Yolanda know.
Yolanda know. They look so good. Listen, Black doesn't crack. You know that, you know, but I was just thinking too, like, we could Zoom it if we need to. Technology.
Or we can get a building, because at this point,
We need
We're
it.
not asking.
We're not. That's the
We're
thing.
not
We're not
asking.
asking
We're
anymore.
looking. This is where we want to have it. Now you make it happen. Whoever
And
has to
we're going to do it. And the
We're not
funding will come. The funding will come because companies and corporations want to jump on things like this because they need to show, like, I'm doing my part. So even if it's bad intentions, right? I'm always like, okay.
Oh yeah,
So
what was meant for
we'll take
evil.
it. What was meant for evil, God turned it around for good. Genesis 50:20. You know what I mean? Like, so we're jumping on that. And I'm always saying, like, the wealth of the wicked is laid up in store for the righteous. Our company is started in a righteous manner. We live righteously. We have integrity, honesty. Those are the foundations of our family and our lives. We are going to reap those seeds because it's like, hold on, the harvest is here. We're grabbing in on it. And I think a lot of people really, really want it. So technology can't stop us because we can Zoom. Let's say, God forbid, another pandemic hit. We're all shut back in. We will do rites of passage. We will teach and we will give more talks on, with technology. All of us we're in two different places. We're still able to teach and share and give this knowledge. So we're not allowing any door to stop us. We're just busting right on through. We're kicking that door in and making it happen and riding on it. You know what I mean? So even if certain people are like, okay, we're going to do Juneteenth and make it commercialized. No, we're going to keep it preserved. We're going to keep it rich, the rich history that it has. And we're going to keep it sacred. And then we're going to teach more people about it because it's not enough for us just to say we have it. We're gonna just light the fire in other people, and that fire is gonna catch. Just like you were saying before, Auntie, that fire is gonna catch, and that's that. That's what we're gonna do. So I think people really want this, and this is something that we can do, and we can share. We can pass this knowledge down. We can have Nana on. She doesn't know technology, but I know, Mommy, you can help her.
Yeah,
we don't want to let this stuff die. We don't want to let this history go. We need to share it and pass it, and that's what our African ancestors did in Africa. Passed it on down.
Absolutely.
We had the village circles, right?
Absolutely.
Passed it down. The elders share. But then I like that you both said elders share, but then the young people also share too. It's intergenerational. It's so needed and so important.
We can learn from each other. There's definitely, and we're still learning. Even with some of the Black history, there's so much stuff that I found out for the first time, even this year, researching or just seeing stuff pop up on Facebook. So no one has ever gets to a point where they've arrived,
right?
Because there's always still something to learn. And again, even my nephew's 6 years old. I can learn from a 6-year-old.
Yes.
Even so, people got to get out of that. Like you can't be taught something.
Right.
We can all be taught.
That's something. When you lose. Only time you cannot be taught is when you are in the casket. In the casket, your time to learn is done, right? Other than that, you have breath, you are able to learn as well as teach. And I think that having our young people just know that we care enough about them to have them grounded. There is a poem that my daughter, Steffi's oldest sister, had to learn when she was going to the Cornerstone School. It's Yay, Black Child. And just recently, one of my sorority sisters shared that poem with our graduates, some young ladies who graduated from our CAP, which is a college enrichment program. And it was so refreshing to hear it again. But I will send it, Steffi, so you can put it on our Facebook page. But it is, yes, Black Child. It basically says, who are you meant to be? Who should you be? That's where we come in, of being able to help that define. When I see, some of our young Black men, our young Black women, I just look and I know this is not what they were meant to be. There's so much more. When we look at, they say the answer is in the room. The answer is in the race. The answer is in the race.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like that.
The answer is in the race.
The answer is in the race.
There was a comment that I can't post for some reason, but it's one of my friends, Malachi, and he said, just talking about the slavery mindset that is still there. Still right there.
The chains have been like removing off the arms, but they're still up there. And again, it is nothing's gonna happen overnight.
No,
because it's systemic.
It is
intentional. That is why we have to be intentional, because there's no way that you can go to the neighborhood in California and know this is the ghetto where people of color live. You can go in Boston and know, and like, why is that?
Liquor
why
store.
Is there cash in place? liquor store. Like, is that what the people really said that they wanted in their neighborhoods?
Did they even have a choice?
And that's the thing about it is, and yet and still we're shooting and killing each other over this block and that block, and you don't own it. Eminent domain come, you're gone, and so ain't everybody else. So it's like we just have to be learn how to work smarter and not harder against each other. We definitely have to have a unified and I think that's probably the biggest thing is into getting us together is a level of unification. So again, we can try and start small and just have it catch a fire wherever. We got people on here that's from all different areas.
Sure.
Like you do in your area. Again, everyone, you get in where you fit in.
You get in where you fit in. Because it's all of our responsibility.
Absolutely. And I would like to just say, as we maybe get ready to wrap up, that a poem that I really like, and the man that wrote it actually was an uncle of Helen Keller. And what he says is simply this: I am only one. I cannot do everything, but I can do something. And I will not let that what I cannot do interfere with what I can do.
Wow.
I can do something. I am only one.
Absolutely.
And I think that's where we kind of come from, because to much to Cookie's point, you look out on the big part of it, it seems overwhelming. But if you think, and I think about myself, I said when I was younger, I wanted to save the world. I wanted to change the world. But what I realize is that it's block by block. If I change my neighbors, that changes our block. If our block changes, that changes our neighborhood. If our neighborhood changes, that's changing our city. Our city changes, it's the country. I look up and we have indeed changed the world.
Absolutely. And I know you both have to go, so I mean we can wrap it up. So we are having an event. We are having an event
about the graduates. We just want to remind.
I'm just about to do that.
Yes.
So we have an event coming up tomorrow. I did I did post our family businesses page, Harambe Learning and Cultural Center. Tomorrow we have an event coming up. I'm gonna post this banner. So it's in Brockton City Hall Plaza tomorrow from 2 to 4 p.m. Please come out. It's gonna be amazing. And any graduates 2021, not from 1981 or we're happy for you, bless you, God bless you. Thank God that you graduated. High school, right? Tomorrow, college. High school, college. If you have a cap, you know what I mean? If you have a cap, because sometimes I give little caps and gowns to like kindergarten, going to first grade. If you have a cap, it's anyone who graduated 2021.
Or high school,
college, or grad school.
Right. We're not doing the kindergartens. We're not doing the middle schools. We'll celebrate for them, but for this ceremony tomorrow is for beginning on high school.
Okay. So high school, college, and
grad school.
Okay.
Or PhD too.
Or PhD. So that's grad too. Any, you know, just those. Please bring your cap. And we're going to celebrate you like we do in the villages. Yes. We celebrate the graduates. We're going to big you up and really just thank God that you graduated. We're also just going to have a Juneteenth pledge. Like, this is something for the community. Please come out, bring your kids. This is something for the family. So it'll be tomorrow, 2 to 4. I am just going to share really quick. I'm just going to share the flyer really quick so everyone can see it. But I did share our page inside of all the comments and stuff like that, so that you can click on that, like our page, follow our page. We're going to be doing some more lives. We're going to be connecting with other community members so that this information can get out there. It's so important. I mean, we can't keep it to ourselves. And I do think, you know, there is a blessing in sharing it, but I feel like there's a curse in not sharing it. If you have information and you don't share it, like, that's also a huge problem. So absolutely. I am going, you know what I mean? Like,
life-saving. It's like it is, you know, the life you save might be your own, but it also will be someone in your community. Like, this is life-saving. Like, we are in a spiritual warfare here, folks. Like, our children's lives are
on the line, big time on the line, you know. And I mean, I think it's like when you look at it like that, it's like it gets kind of scary because the burden can get heavy. But if we all do it together, right? If it's like, okay, I'm going to do it together. It's not just like one person doing it. It's a community of people doing it.
Absolutely.
It is.
Doesn't it make the load a little lighter? Like,
It
okay,
does. The more hands it makes the work.
Many hands make the work light.
Come
Yeah,
on.
the African
Come
proverb.
on.
Yes, yes, yes. And I think also too, we have to recognize that we sometimes what we do to hurt ourselves, we can't get past. We don't like that person. Whereas now, just look at our Caucasians, your brothers and sisters, or the people, right? They will get past don't like because they got a plan against us.
And
right?
they don't like you more.
Right. So we have to get past, because I mean, we've lived out here, a good over half a century.
Time.
And people come and go, and I know it'll be, sometimes, well, I don't really like her. I don't really like her. Well, I may not really like you either. I probably don't, right? But that's not what's important. What's important is that our community can be helped, right?
Sure.
If we work together. So you don't want to put your $5 with me, my $5, so we could buy that $10 building. Well, guess what? While we're both, my grandmother don't like her, our families don't get along. Here comes someone from another race, but they buy the building. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So
that's right.
Let's get past some of the things that have held us back and look at the greater picture. When repression and discrimination comes and the effects, it's not going to skip over me and just get to you, or it's not going to skip you and get to me. It looks as us like that together. So we just need to think more unity, less of the things that divide us, and look at what are the things that unite us.
In our futures, because eventually we'll be dead and gone.
Right.
And we got some young people behind us that we didn't talk to or we didn't share information with.
That's right.
So because they were so-and-so's grandchild, who I didn't like from the 3rd grade. So yeah, we got to get all that mix, that confusion thinking.
Yeah, and that's another distraction. I think, you guys mentioned the Angel Mama boxes and the Uncle Ben. Great. Those are distractions to keep us off our task. We're still pushing. We want reparations. We need it now. The time is now.
Yes.
They're trying to throw a little, we'll give you this, we'll give you that. We're so happy about Juneteenth, but no, we're not distracted from that. We thank you.
Juneteenth is the beginning, not the end.
Thank you. We use this as a beginning. This is the fuel we eat to keep pushing to get what we are owed. What we are owed, that's it. And we've given it to every other community. What we are owed. There would be no America without our community. That's point blank, period.
Price. I think I mentioned that even the 40 acres and a mule, someone kind of took, if all of the slaves at that time had gotten the 40 acres and a mule, the wealth of that would be the equivalent of 640 billion. I did not say million. $640 billion today. That's just their ancestors, what they would be due in that, right? So I'm just saying that I feel like there could be no conversation about liberation without talking about a reparation.
Okay. Now that's hot fire. Those are bars. That's what we say. That's a bar. That's a bar. So really quick, I'm just gonna share. Here we go. Yep. So this is what we're doing tomorrow, everybody. Again, I will reshare our page in the comment section. Please come out. It's a big celebration, and this is our 2nd annual. But as we go on, we'll have a big cookout. Please come out. This is Juneteenth. This is our history. And even for people who aren't Black, right? Still come out. Because like we said, Black history is American history. This is something that happened in America, in our country. This is history that should be celebrated in the same way or even more as July 4th. This is our freedom date. This is when we were emancipated.
The white people are being denied an opportunity to learn as well.
Right.
The government signed.
If they don't know nothing about Juneteenth or something like that, you mentioned something about Tom Hanks, how he said how he knew nothing about Tulsa.
That's a shame.
And again, it was just history that he didn't even have the opportunity to get a chance to know. So, anybody can come out and learn. I mean, that is what it's all about. We definitely have more similarities than we do have differences.
Sure. Absolutely.
This American experience, we own as much in it as everyone, I would say, except perhaps for the Native Americans, because it was their actual culture first. And then we came, and then between the taking of Mexico, and I do know I met some Mexican activists who said that the borders were moved. So when people say, you know, you stop, go down, crossing the borders, they said the borders were moved. The borders were moved. We're still in our land. So when they are in New Mexico, Arizona, parts of Texas, they said we're still in our land. They just happen to move the borders. That's still Mexico. So, you know, I'm just saying we have to look at exploitation. These governors are trying to introduce these bills to make Black history, be the teaching of it, to be that somehow illegal. So again, come out when you have the opportunity.
Absolutely. I think that's a really good place to end this talk. You know, I think this was awesome. Again, everybody, I didn't want to hoard the information that I've learned from these two amazing women. So I think it's important that everyone knows it. We will have more people on, the people that we mentioned, Mr. Willie, Amina, you know what I mean? Greg Hazelwood, all these people who have this history in them that we can share. And this is a way for us to do that. So I love you both. Thank you so much. And we hope to see everybody tomorrow at for those who can make it, from 2 to 4, Brockton City Hall Plaza. And we will be there celebrating Juneteenth, our freedom, that we finally heard about. Our
can't make it. Tell somebody.
Share. Thank you.
Somebody.
Right.
Tell somebody.
And a little cultural mix. We're gonna have some Italian ices. Okay, so that'll help. We're celebrating Juneteenth, Black culture, but showing that we know we are a people that have, you know, we're embracive, and you know. So here we go.
Absolutely. We celebrate other cultures. So thank you both. Love you both. Have an amazing day, everyone. Happy Juneteenth weekend. We will preserve the sacredness of this holiday. Glad we have it off, but we know the true history and we'll learn more. Love you. Love you.
Thank you,
Blessings,
everyone.
everyone.
Thank you.
God bless.